Okay. So let's do something else, something in a different vein altogether. And this is going to, I think, your question there early on, Rick. You don't visualize, is that right? Or you have trouble visualizing? When other people induce you to it, or just on your own?
On my own.
Okay, but with other people you're fine?
Not really.
So it's just visualization in general. And what does visualization mean to you? Like actually making pictures, is that right?
Yeah.
So you can get feeling sensations. So for example, if I asked you about a holiday you've been on to like a few months ago, you can feel, oh, you've been on a holiday warm, for example?
I can get a sense or a flash of it.
You can get a sense or a flash of it. Can you experience it like in your body rather than just in your mind? There you go, like that one. What was that? Hmm?
I don't know.
You don't know. But was that from a holiday? Was that from a different experience? I mean, and you don't have to tell me what it is if you want, or you can choose a different one if you don't want to talk about that one. It just helps for the purpose of what we're doing here. Okay? Are you okay with this? Or do you want to select a different one?
I don't even know what that one was.
Okay, well, just select another one. I don't care. Just think of an experience you've had recently, like a comfortable meal in a restaurant, maybe relaxing at home with someone you care for, driving a car, restaurant, yeah? And you can remember a specific place?
Mm-hmm.
Which one was it? Where was it?
There's a Mexican restaurant near my house.
Very good. And how big is it? Large, small? I mean, I'm not asking for dimensions, just large, small, in between.
It's about half the size of this room.
And when you were there, was it like packed full of people or was it empty?
Empty.
Empty. How do you know? That's how you visualize, right? Now, you don't know what you just saw, do you?
No.
You have no idea, but you know the place is empty.
Yeah.
If I try to tell you that it was full, you go, no way. It was full, really, wasn't it?
No.
But how do you know? The thing is, you don't know, right? And here's the crazy thing. What you're experiencing, Rick, is actually not a problem at all. I was exactly the same way when I first started. It's what I call the veil of consciousness. It's like you are making pictures, but at the unconscious level. And like little curtains being drawn across it, and your unconscious going, you don't have to see this. Now, there could be all kinds of reasons for that. Either because you can't be bothered with it. It could be that something suggested to you when you were younger, like that's just your imagination's bad. It could be all kinds of things. I don't know what it is, right? I was the same way and I have no idea what it was with me either. The point is, you're still seeing the pictures because otherwise you wouldn't know that the restaurant was empty. You didn't go and touch every table and go, okay, there's someone here. No, there's no one here. You saw it. So you have visual memory there somewhere. And the key thing is people think they have to see things to visualize them. They don't. They have to have a sense. You have a sense of knowing when we talk about how full or empty that restaurant was, right?
Right.
So let's try this as an experiment. Go ahead and close your eyes, just for the hell of it, and find whatever comfortable experience of trance you wish to. Now, of course, you know that you've been to a restaurant which was empty, this Mexican place you just told me about. And I'd like you to take your mind back there. Think about it. You don't have to see anything. You don't have to feel anything. You don't even have to, you just have to know it's there and you know it's empty. Now, I want you to contrast it to now thinking about what that relates would be like if people started walking in, maybe a couple here, a little family with kids, little yapping dogs just like going ow, 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 in the corner somewhere. And the place starts filling up. And there's an atmosphere, that's right, an atmosphere that changes as the place starts filling up. And when the place is full of happy, smiling people having a great time, and you really have that sense of that atmosphere, just go ahead and nod your head for me. Very good. And how does it feel being in that restaurant surrounded with all those positive people?
It feels like a pressure around me, and what's the sounds or noise?
It's annoyance. So you feel more comfortable when they disappear, right? So why not open the door and say, out? And let them all march out. And notice how that pressure, there you go, how that pressure recedes. Until that last little annoying yapping dog goes out, you close the door, and there's just silence. That's it. And how much better does that feel? And you can like that, can you not?
Oh, yeah.
So now what I want you to do, just for the hell of it, is just thinking about this restaurant, in whatever way that you are right now, I'd like you to choose a different table, because on one of these tables, there will be a particular meal you enjoy that does not fit in this restaurant. It might be Italian, it might be pizza, I don't know what it is, but be a wonderful meal. I'd like you just to get a sense of what that is. What is it?
Prime rib.
Prime rib. Go ahead and enjoy that prime rib. That's it. And realize that it's kind of naughty of you because you're in the restaurant and they don't even serve it to you because they don't make prime rib. But you get to enjoy it anyway. That's right. And as soon as you've had a full experience of that, just bring yourself back with your eyes open, feeling fresh, relaxed, so that's simply fantastic. And you thought you couldn't visualize, right? So this is a very common experience. People think they can't visualize just because they can't see pictures. But clearly, you can. It's just you're not aware of those pictures. Now, here's a crazy thing that happens. Because if I can kind of maybe put words inside your mouth before you describe the experience, and correct me if this is wrong, it's almost like you're pretending to see something. You know it's there, but you're pretending to see it, but you're not really seeing it. Is that correct? I know, because I was exactly the same place. And what happens if you pretend for long enough, remember we talked about it right at the beginning of today, if you pretend for long enough, you forget to pretend and you just have the experience. Now what happened with me was I was doing this for maybe 6 months because I learned a self-hypnosis system that is just basically visualization, nothing else, which is a real arse if you can't visualize. It's like, oh Christ. Anyways, so I pretended to visualize. And one day, I was doing my little thing, and suddenly I realized there's all these things, images, dancing around my head, and like I could see the pictures. And the weird thing is, when I thought about it, I realized I had been seeing those pictures for at least a couple of weeks without even realizing it. It's bizarre, unless you'll get a chance to experience this. Most of you can visualize already, probably won't, but you will definitely get a chance to experience this. There will come a point, if you just pretend, like exactly how you did just now, that it's actually happening for you. You don't concern yourself about the rest. There'll come a point where you will actually see the pictures and you know it, and you'll realize you've actually been seeing pictures for at least a week or a few days before that, but you didn't realize it, which is, I know, kind of a weird head trip for everyone who hasn't actually experienced it, but it's what happens. Does that solve your question?
Yes.
Go ahead. Yes, Cliff is coming flying on wings of an eagle.
I've been
Click up, yeah.
I've been told that some people don't visualize, that they're more kinesthetic in terms of their sensory awareness, or they're more auditory.
Mm-hmm.
So what's your take on
that? The key phrase there is more. I think it's physically impossible, given that something like 60% of your brain is given over to visual processing, that you can't make images. I think it's just way overrated. I think people have preferences by all means, or at least conscious preferences, right? So maybe some people are really into their feelings, and oh, that's good, and that's fine. That's where their attention is habitually situated. And other people, for example, with pictures, in this case, internal pictures are really not where their attention tends to be, so they don't maybe not even be aware of that they're there. But I think everyone can do everything because we've got the same neurology. It's just a question of what is your preference, where's your attention at most, what can you do best, and that's pretty much it. And the whole,
Context-based as well.
Say again? It is context-based, absolutely. And the whole thing, the whole idea of preference, and remember that's why they use preference and not, oh, you can't make pictures, so you never make pictures, never, right? The whole point of the whole preference thing is more about communication rather than what you do with yourself. The communication aspect is, if you know that someone doesn't access pictures as easily, don't describe big pictures to them, because they're going to go, I don't work that way. Just describe it more in sensation terms, etc. That's the real thing behind it, and I'm really not that enamored of. I think it just limits people needlessly. Because now, let's face it, how do you feel about the fact that you can visualize?
I knew I could, but it just because in order to get the answers to questions, I'd have to be doing it, but just not conscious of it.
Exactly. And it's kind of nice to have the option to follow along all the other visualizations you've come across without having to make the effort to actually see the pictures, just knowing that they're there, right? Because now the stress is off you. There's no pressure on you to do it. You can just let things happen as they do and still get the same impact. This is the crazy thing. The effect is the same. Here's a classic example. Who can make pictures really well? You can make great pictures? Okay, think of someone you really don't like. Everyone please watch Gloria's face. Think of someone you really don't like. I mean, really don't like. Okay, now think of someone you really do like. Make a picture of him or her. Right? How do you feel? Feels good, right? Okay, let's turn to Rick. Rick, think of someone you really don't like. Okay, now switch and think of someone you really do like. There you go. Right? He just visualized, oh my God. And he had a physical response to a picture he didn't see. What's up with that? Does it really matter? I don't think so. The point is, you get to use the tool for your benefit. There's no limitation.
Do you think, and you may have already kind of said this, but do you think it may be more valid to say that it's not that someone has a preference for one, but it's that they've learned to be more aware of one over the other? Or someone told them that.
That may very well be the case. I actually don't know what happens. I don't know if it's if it could be a genetic preference, or if it could be a developmental thing, or whatever. I honestly don't know the answer. I like to think of it in those terms, but I'd be lying to you if I told you I knew the answer, because I don't. Hmm? There you go. Well, daydream with more intensity. So we've got about, 5 or 10 minutes left. So here's what I'm going to encourage you guys to do. The classic way of using visualization is, of course, rehearsing a future scenario, right? And I use it that a lot, actually, believe it or not. Whilst we were out there having a coffee this morning, before coming in here, we actually did all this already. So this is like my second run through. It's easy. And the way to do that is literally the same thing that you did with your restaurant. We're going to spend 5 minutes going into the break, and then we'll basically just leave you to just go and take your coffee break, or tea break, or water break. I'm not sure the coffees are there anymore. But I'd like you to just spend literally just 5 minutes, get in touch with your arm, just set the scene, and then mentally just rehearse having gone through this whole week, having had these amazing experiences. Now, some of them you'll be able to see. Some of them you'll just kind of know about. Some of them you'll get a vague impression, sense impression. That's okay. Just notice that there are different grades of clarity that you can get. Not just visual clarity, but also intellectual clarity about the experience.